All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. Telephone number 870-275-9799 if you would like to contribute to the conversation. Want to check back in with Pope County resident, also attorney Larry Walker's back with us. Larry, it's been a little while. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing good. I know we didn't get to talk last week, but we did get to talk with Anna Stieritz about the ruling that came down last week where we have the judge that essentially said that the ordinance was unconstitutional, that would require a vote as to whether or not Pope County is going to have a casino. And then we also had a ruling about the Freedom of Information Act, whether or not it was violated, or did we have that ruling? What can you tell us, Larry?
He did rule on the local ordinance. There's an appeals process in the state of Arkansas, and I would say that that's most likely going to be going through the appeals process. When we get to matters of constitutionality, we think that matters like that affect our state constitution deserve to be heard by the highest court in our state, and so that's where we hope that gets. Is for our Supreme Court to be able to hear that. That's kind of where we thought from the get-go, whether who won, who lost, this thing would get appealed, and eventually they would be hearing these matters. And so that's most likely what we see in the future. But on the FOIA stuff, I mean, you tell me, Paul. When a ruling like that comes down as a guy from the press, what do you think when a judge says that the FOIA laws, you can do what you want to do as a public official.
Yeah.
As long as you just simply bring it in for a perfunctory vote. Kind of mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I think it was really a blow to the Freedom of Information Act, or at least the judge's definitely a misinterpretation of that. I mean, we still have ethics investigations. You still have people looking into this. Larry, yeah, I think there's folks that are in big trouble here having these secret meetings. I mean, I think it's a clear violation, and they're having to do it because it's a casino, and it just brings in this feeling of really shady deals going back and forth. Now, I also want to bring up, and I mentioned this briefly last week. Right after that ruling, I understand this particular judge is running for re-election, so. Right after the ruling, there was some Facebook posts that were made. Did you happen to see those?
I did. There were some posts put up that were touting what had happened there and using quotes from our adversary on the other side, the defendant in this case, using quotes from them, touting that. And honestly, the case had not yet even been closed at that point. Honestly, it's still actually technically still ongoing in a sense, because those FOIA issues have not been resolved. You asked that in the last question. I guess I didn't even answer your question on that, on the FOIA. That his dismissal last week was what we would call a 12B6 dismissal, which is a procedural dismissal, which allows you can have a case that's dismissed with prejudice or without prejudice. If it's with prejudice, that means it's on the merits of the case. It's decided, and then it can be appealed up to the next court. If it's without prejudice on this one, it means that you can bring it back to the court. Essentially, there's something that technically that was wrong with how you pled the case, and so go fix it and bring it back. And so the merits of the FOIA claims were not even decided, and the stuff that he said, he essentially said, "This is my opinion on how FOIA works," but because he was dismissing it based on the procedural issues, he was not actually, I guess, opining on that, judicially opining on those issues. He was saying, "This is what I think about it, but I'm dismissing this because of the procedure issues." And so those FOIA issues are still outstanding and can be brought back before the court once those issues are resolved. So they're definitely still outstanding out there.
Okay, what about Pope County majority? I'm sorry, I mean Pope County minority. Boy, we're certainly getting some folks online. They really are upset with Citizens for a Better Pope County. And I want to be clear, Citizens for a Better Pope County, Larry, you guys are made up of people that just wanted to have a vote. There's some of you that actually favor a casino, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's people in the group that favor a casino. There's people like me that don't. It's the issue is about having a vote, democracy, not having the right of the people taken away. And that's what I don't understand, the visceral reaction to that, is the fact that we're just calling for democracy here. We're calling for a vote of the people that 70% of our county wanted. And even if we didn't have a vote, 60% didn't want a casino here. And at the end of the day, the 60% that didn't want to have a casino here are represented by those JPs who, according to it, strip out the local ordinance, say it is unconstitutional. If they want to say it's fine, but in the Constitution itself, it says that the county judge or the quorum court can make that decision of whether or not one comes here.
Yeah.
And they represent those 60% of the population that said we don't want one here. And suddenly on August the 13th, they come out and they say this is who we're picking. Mm-hmm. And so the voice of the people is clearly not heard in Polk County. And so I don't understand the anger and the personal attacks. I don't get that. Can we not have a calm conversation, a peaceful conversation where we can express our opinions and express our thoughts on both sides of the aisle, and actually have a conversation about this? But evidently we can't.
So, Larry, I mean, I appreciate this update. Where do we go from here? We're just going to have to wait for the appeal process, wait for another judicial hearing.
I think so. I think at this point, it's kind of a waiting game at this point, waiting for the appeals process to play out, waiting for these investigations to see what they come out with on some of these allegations that are out there, and see if we can get any clarity to what's happened.
Okay. Well, I mean, as we move forward, I just hope the people have a say. I hope the county officials come to their senses and realize that they didn't run on a pro-casino platform, and I hope the money doesn't end up corrupting people, whether directly or indirectly.
Absolutely, and we're getting into a campaign season here, and I think that's going to be another indicator of what people, because that's essentially what this election is going to come down to, as the filing period's this week, and those primaries are in March. A lot of that's going to come down to whether it's a pro-anti-casino vote, essentially. And I mean, even though there has been a resolution made, there's now been some court hearings that have been had. That's still a hot-button topic around here, and that's still what these guys are still going to be running on. Is still that one of those platforms, and we're going to be able to see what those votes look like. I was thinking about it the other day, the sad part of that FOIA issue, and even the opinion of the judge when he came out and said the things he did about, well, as long as they come in and they can talk about what they want, and then they can come in here and put a stamp on it with a vote. The justices walked into that courtroom on the 13th, and there were multiple of them who had no idea that this process was happening, that there had been a $38 million agreement reached, and so forth. And there was a local citizen that did a FOIA and asked for, I think based on Bill Warner's statements, I believe is who it was, that said the judges told us we have until August the 12th to get these final bids in. And so we had a local citizen that went and did a FOIA, and he said, I'd like to see those proposals. And he got one proposal back that was in by that deadline, one proposal, and that was the Keel family out of Iowa's proposal. It wasn't the Cherokee's proposal. It wasn't anybody else. It was the Keel family. Well, and the Keel family proposal is essentially what went through the Russellville process recently, that showed to be about twice the monetary value of the Cherokee proposal. And when they walked into that meeting on the 13th, the Keel family proposal was never even put before the quorum court. And so those justices that weren't a part of those discussions and those alleged secret meetings, those justices had no opportunity to see any other proposal. And so the secret meetings that were had, and those guys, those 7 or 8 JPs that came into that room on the 13th and rubber stamped what they had been talking about, those other 5 districts in Polk County, they never had representation in that process.
Wow.
Because they had their mind made up when they walked in, and 5 JPs are completely left out of the discussion, and they come in and rubber stamp a decision for a group that, according to the FOIA, that was requested, never had the proposal in by that deadline, and these other guys did. The Gulfside group they did have a proposal in by noon, and their proposal was not provided back in the FOIA.
Yeah, and they've got a case too. I mean, they're suing over this.
And they have a case. Absolutely, they have a case, and that's on November 25th. And so there's all kinds of avenues here that your FOIA question to me makes a lot of sense, and I think that one will definitely be brought back up. I don't think it's a dead issue as many are saying. I think that's definitely certainly a live issue.
I think there's some county officials going to be in trouble over it. I really do. Larry, I appreciate it, sir. We'll check in with you again when there's new developments. So I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Sir.
Appreciate it.
Folks, we're going to take a short break for 1 minute and be back here in just a second. Don't go.